we made some quick changes to our Ukrainian alliance chart. We went ahead and bumped up Poland half a star for their passing a measure in Parliament declaring Russia a terrorist state. Then we also went ahead and bumped up Germany half a star too, for them being involved in this rewriting of history to condemn Russia. So Ukraine has just become this black hole that sucks in everything the West has as far as resources, whether it's money, weapons, or ammo. Manning this great vast vacuum is Zelensky and his staff. They pull in resources almost daily, and a lot of times they just exit out the back door. Every now and then, they go on this recruitment binge mode, and that's where we are again. Sometimes they sacrifice men for a media victory. Other times, they play the sad victim role. This time, they're back, cracking the whip. Anyone not emptying out their pockets will get publicly chastised. Zelensky wants more modern tanks. Apparently, Mr. Greenscreen is all over Germany's Schultz for not sending him the tanks he wants. Schultz jumped to attention to create what is called a new platform for financing Ukraine. Sounds like they have this new way to drain accounts faster to satisfy Zelensky's war machine without the formal paperwork involved. Zelensky, our superhero, talked down to the G7 leaders in this recent Zoom call. He asked them to show their leadership by providing more. About half the leaders just looked away the instant he delivered this message. Zelensky proceeds to state that Ukraine needs constant support with artillery, guns, and shells. Apparently, he's done with this half-assed support, getting weapon shipments every other day. He claims this will somehow prevent escalation with Russia. You see, our hero of darkness speaks in reverse. Nothing makes sense to us mere mortals. Even as Europe has its own critical gas issues, Zelensky has demanded his gas supplies be replenished. Then Zelensky finishes off the meeting by offering a chance for peace. Putin must withdraw all forces by Christmas so he can once again crack down on the Russian speakers in his land. So we had this new wave of Iranian drones sent into Kiev by Russia from the Azov Sea. Western media admits that at least some of the damage done in Kiev is due to air defense debris. The media must really be feeling the pressure to release some factual information. Russia seems to have lulled the air defense technicians to sleep though. After a long pause of drones not being sent in and just missiles, seems like they maybe panicked and fired off the costly and in short supply missiles at these cheap Iranian drones. Even if every drone was shot down, Russia must consider it a success. The West spends millions for missiles, while Russia spends a few thousand for drones. Sounds like the strike was near a rail station. We're finding, however, that the results of missile strikes has all of a sudden become pretty much non-existent in their reporting. Details reported previously are not being revealed by either camp at this point. Let's go over what's being reported out of Russia. One munition depot has been destroyed in the Kharkiv region. One warehouse of weapons equipment has been destroyed in Kherson. One warehouse of material means has been destroyed in Zaporozhye, and one U.S.-made counter-battery radar station was destroyed in DPR. The Russian Air Force fighter aircraft have shot down a MiG-29 and one Mi-8 helicopter in DPR. Air defenses have destroyed 11 UAVs in DPR and Zaporozhye region. Meanwhile, it seems that the only place that Ukraine has had success is in the shelling the city of Donetsk. Over the past 24 hours, 40 Grad missiles were fired at the city. In Bakhmut, on the southern flank, there's fighting continuing in Opetine. Despite heavy losses, Ukraine continues to hold on to the outskirts of the settlement. The Wagner Group continues to storm the Ukrainian fortified positions in the neighborhoods of Bakhmut. 80% of Marinka is captured, so now they've gone from 70% to 80% in just a day. They have been just pounding away fortifications with tanks. On the North LPR front, a preemptive fire from artillery, heavy rocket launchers, and strikes by the Army Aviation thwarted an attempted Ukrainian offensive. Up to 35 Ukrainian servicemen were eliminated. On the South LPR front, a Ukrainian offensive has been foiled as a result of strikes by Army aircraft and artillery fire. More than 40 Ukrainian servicemen were eliminated. In the Donetsk direction, Russian troops continue their offensive. They've captured new advantageous lines and positions. Ukrainians made unsuccessful attempts to restore the position. All those counterattacks have been repelled. The enemy losses in this direction amounted to 30 Ukrainian servicemen killed and wounded. In southern Donetsk, airstrikes and artillery fire have neutralized enemy reserves. In addition, 2 AFU sabotage and reconnaissance groups have been detected and destroyed near Pavlovka. 40 servicemen and 4 motor vehicles were eliminated. Missile troops and artillery units have neutralized command posts of units of the Mechanized Brigade and a Brigade of Defense. In Kharkiv region, they also neutralized 45 artillery units. Heavy shelling once again by the Russians on Kherson. We kept seeing all over these Ukrainian channels about Russians being forced to move their artillery to the eastern fronts. Sounds like more fake news from them once again. It's just a real head scratcher when you see the enormous following for this false narrative. Day after day, the information turns up completely false. In the UK, inflation hits over 10%. And they have this record-breaking nurse strike going on. Looks like Sumi is going to continue to stay locked at the hip with the neocons in Washington, as he sounds like they're preparing to send these long-range weapons in order to strike deep inside Russia. Seems there's this strange divide inside of Poland, where there are factions for war and against the war, but it seems that the warmongers are winning out. Parliament votes to declare Russia a terrorist state, but I noted that over half of Parliament abstained from voting. Also, the Polish PM promised to discipline judges for blocking the Ukrainian aid. It sounds like the aid was being blocked by judges inside of Poland that were upholding their laws. Then we have another case where we had an exploding package. This one showed up in Poland, and supposedly it came from Ukraine. Again, there's plenty of suspects as to who could have sent this package. So in Germany, we hear that 1 million refugees have fled to the country now. Germany is also at the same time resorting to record borrowing just to keep the lights on. As far as this coup attempt in Germany, we said we would just ignore their narrative around the situation and look at the actions. Well, their actions are in line with our first thought on the start of this situation. Looks like they got out their authoritarian playbook and are checking off the boxes. They look to tighten up the gun control laws, but then they remembered they already have that on lockdown. We had concerns about this police investigations heading out into the neighborhoods. Yes, we are hearing that this has led to a widened investigation of more and more citizens. No surprise there. It's probably safe to say that this trend will continue and lead to more and more arrests and further investigations. We will need to continue to monitor the situation closely, but it's not looking good so far. Then there's this information that they worked with Ukraine to rewrite history. Yes, it's hard to believe, but it's what we're hearing. Sounds like they went back 100 years and identified that Russia attempted genocide against Ukrainians in some 1930s famine. Can you imagine these two governments having the nerve to hand out these accusations? Apparently, Germany teamed up with Ukraine to come up with some ridiculous EU resolution, which the corrupted, desperate EU organization quickly adopted. The Russian Foreign Ministry responded by saying that Germany was trying to rewrite history. In the EU, it seems they're making what looks like a last-ditch effort to crack down on information they don't want available. They are grasping desperately to maintain their power. Their failures to serve the people are showing up more and more. They need to have control over where the blame goes. Their latest moves with these sanctions seem to have two goals. First, to punish and dismantle anyone who exposes or opposes their mindless and corrupt authority. European Parliament Vice President Eva Kaili was charged with corruption and money laundering. It's supposed to have ties with Qatar, but Qatar denies any involvement. But the fact that weaponization of police and the law has become everyday standard protocol, you have to dig much deeper into this situation to fully understand it. Did she recently vote against the grain on anything? That's certainly worth looking at. Queen EU President Ursula calls for the creations of an ethics body. It seems to me that she's the last one who has any understanding of ethics. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban apparently had a blast with the whole ordeal. By the way, I think he's still waiting for his blackmail to come from the EU. Well, hopefully this is the first domino to fall, and she's not just another victim of this diseased power structure. On another front, we have seen this trend of preparing to soften the penalties towards corruption beginning to spread. Perhaps they're seeing the writing on the wall. The EU continues to delegitimize itself. The corruption oozes out and destroys everything it touches at an ever-accelerating rate. It's been a while since I've deep dived into the whole crypto smart city citizenship movement, I'm thinking that it might make sense to try to jump ship on this whole failing system. This whole crypto DAO city certainly wasn't quite there yet when I looked into it a while back, but I'm thinking it might be worth another look now. Every sign is pointing to this whole thing imploding. Today we had Trump delivering a speech promising to go after these government officials that have colluded with big tech. Seems like this is the best group to go after. He warns tech companies not to delete the evidence. Probably a good idea because it's believed by many that this data has already been cleverly captured. On another front, Musk is concerned that he will be assassinated. We also have this concern. He's also being attacked using this really worn out lawfare technique. The real overlords, Gates and Bezos, are teaming up together to start their own brain interface company, Musk's Neuralink, being investigated. It makes you wonder if the two monopolists are behind this effort to take down Musk. Certainly Musk stands in the way of their sinister plots, but he also stands in the way of many other evil forces. So yes, he should go ahead and take off in his starship. It sounds like the Biden administration is going to move forward with throwing some Patriot missile defense systems into the Ukrainian fire or black hole. If they are lucky, it'll just get blown up and not handed over. Copycat Factory would love to get their hands on it. Yes, apparently that's Iran's specialty, is to copy weapons that fall into their hands. Thanks again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and pound that like button. There's going to be a lot more coming. We're just getting started.